Welcome back to the Broad Street Sports Podcast featuring Zachary Chavy, and today I'll be giving you my Week 12 reactions and my picks for Week 13. So I'm going to go from every game from Thursday Night Football all the way up to Monday Night Football, and then talk about the picks I have for the 3 Thanksgiving games and the Sunday slate of games and Monday Night Football between the Broncos and the Browns. So starting off first, Cleveland and Pittsburgh, they played on Thursday night. It was an interesting game, but overall the Browns were able to get the win in a snow fest. It was not early snow, like it started snowing later in the game, and the snow really picked up, and it just made for a fun game overall. And Jameis Winston led the Browns to an upset win over Pittsburgh. They won by the score of 24-19. Winston looked good very much in the second half and was able just to control. The Steelers tried to make a comeback. They took the lead when Russell Wilson threw a touchdown to Calvin Austin, but the Browns were able to drive down one more time, and Nick Chubb was able to get into the end zone for the second time, and the Browns were able to get the win. Just for both teams, just a good win for the Browns as they've beaten now the Steelers and the Ravens, both the top teams in the division respectively. And for the Steelers, they just got to reconsider some stuff. Wilson didn't look great throughout until the very end, and the run game wasn't really working, and their defense just let up a lot during the second half, and that's why the Browns were able to get the win. Moving on to the Sunday slate of games, the Tennessee Titans went into Houston and upset the Texans. Will Levis looked pretty well except for the pick six he threw to Jimmy Ward. But other than that, the Titans sustained nice offense. Levis had a nice touchdown to Nick Westbrook-Akine, and overall he had another one to Chigakonkwo. So just an overall great game for the Titans. And then for the Texans, losing this game is rough, especially because now they moved down to 7-5 and just don't look like the team they were last year. In my opinion, I feel like at this point last year they felt more dangerous than this year. I know injuries are tough, losing Stephon Diggs, but their defense has been really rough the past couple of weeks. They didn't look great against Dallas towards the end or at the beginning, and then giving up 32 points to Tennessee isn't the best thing in the world. But for the Texans, if they just keep winning, they'll have this division in for the bag. And for the Titans, if they keep growing, I think that's all they're looking for the rest of this season. So, moving on to the next game, we had the Vikings beat the Bears in overtime, 30-27. Sam Darnold played a very good game here. He got the ball to Jordan Addison, who had a day, and Aaron Jones had over 100 yards and a touchdown. For the Bears, Caleb Williams looked pretty good. Got a touchdown to DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, and Roschon Johnson got in once again for a touchdown. But overall, the Bears, once again, they had a chance to win this game, took it to overtime, but the Vikings just drove down. I think the Bears got a possession and punted, and then the Vikings drove down and kicked the game-winning field goal. So, great win for the Vikings overall. And for the Bears, just a lot of questions still needed to be answered for them, because Caleb Williams has looked good sometimes, and then other times he's looked really bad. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens the rest of the season and what happens in this offseason. So, and just as a quick side note, the Vikings ended up signing Daniel Jones today, so we'll see if that has any impact if Sam Darnold for some reason gets hurt or just starts to underperform. So, moving on to the next game, this game was crazy from what I saw. The Cowboys went into Washington and got an upset win. Gavontae Turpin had an incredible kick return touchdown. He fumbled the ball at the 1-yard line and then had a nice spin move to take it 99 yards to the house. And then Terry McLaurin proceeded to tie the game up late in the fourth quarter with under a minute left, but the kicker who just came back for them, Austin Seibert, who just got placed on IR I think a day or two ago, missed the extra point, which resulted in the Commanders having to go for the onside kick, and was returned by the Cowboys by Wanye Thomas for a touchdown. So just overall, the Cowboys, I don't know why they tried to win this game whatsoever, because now they're just trying to ruin their draft stock. And for the Commanders, it's been pretty bad for them the past couple of weeks. Losing against Pittsburgh has really taken a toll on them, especially their offense, in my opinion. Jaden Daniels just looks like he's being throttled out there. Like, he just is looking like he's adjusting to being a rookie now. I think in these past couple weeks, losing to Pittsburgh, he looked all right, but just weren't able to get the win. Last week against Philly, he just really couldn't get any offense going. And then this week, just he had a bad interception to one of the Cowboys defensive linemen. But overall, just Cowboys, I don't know why they tried to win this game, and for the Commanders, some things they need to reconsider moving into next week against Tennessee, which maybe they can get a get back game into. So moving on to the next game, the Dolphins, they're winners of 3 straight at this as they beat the New England Patriots 34-15. This game wasn't really close at all. It was 21-0, I think, and then it got up to 28-0, and then the Patriots put some points on the board. Drake May had a nice touchdown pass on 4th down and 15. To Austin Hooper, and that got them on the board. And then Christian Gonzalez took a fumble back after I think it was Devon Achane who fumbled. All the backups were in for the Dolphins. But overall, Jalen Waddle showed up for them, had over 140 yards and a touchdown. So it's great getting him involved back in the offense. Tua looked great on the day, had three or four passing touchdowns. One of them was to Jonnu Smith, who's been a really pivotal in this offense the past couple of weeks. And for the Patriots, they just got to keep growing at this point. Drake May is doing all he can, but at least he's shown strides of being a great quarterback. So if they can get him some targets in the offseason, sky's the limit for that quarterback right there. And for the Dolphins, should be interesting to see if Tua can finally adjust to the cold and going over tomorrow to Green Bay to play them in the late slot of the Thanksgiving Day games. Moving on to the next game, a thriller that no one expected. The Chiefs barely survived and beat the Panthers by the score of 30-27. Bryce Young actually looked pretty good in this game, in my opinion. Was able to get the ball to his targets and just sustain good offense. And Chuba Hubbard tied the game up and then got the 2-point conversion. And then for the Chiefs, I don't know. Their defense didn't really look great. It's not a great sign when your defense doesn't look great against the Panthers. I know they've been showing strides the past couple weeks, but at the same time, though, this should have been a cakewalk for the Chiefs, for a team that's been – their performances have been a little up and down, but, I mean, they're still the Chiefs, so they're going to try to find a way to win no matter what happens. And they did in this game, and Mahomes was able to get a nice 30-yard run, put them in field goal range, and the kicker they got to replace Harrison Buck, who's on IR, was able to win the game. So – and for Noah Gray, 2 touchdowns. Seems like Mahomes has found another target along with Kelsey, DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Worthy. But if they can get some guys healthy, like Pacheco coming back soon, this Chiefs team is still very dangerous in my opinion. So moving on to the next game, we had the Buccaneers beating the Giants to no one's surprise. Baker Mayfield looked pretty good, had his number 1 target back in Mike Evans. And he really didn't need to do anything. It was just sustained run by the Buccaneers, just chewing the clock, and the Giants just couldn't produce anything on offense. And for them coming into this Thursday, Tommy DeVito just got ruled out, and they're going to be putting out Drew Lock against the Cowboys. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play. Will their offense be better? Will it be worse? We'll wait and see. And for the Buccaneers, just a win that they needed to have. So see if they can still get themselves back in the playoff hunt or even in the playoffs themselves. So moving on to the next game, the Lions beat the Colts by the score of 24-6. Not much to talk about in this game. The Lions could have scored more, but they took a more laid-back approach to it and still were able to get a nice win in their opinion. Jahmyr Gibbs had a nice day, 2 touchdowns. Montgomery got in the end zone, and they just played great defense against the Colts, only allowing 6 points. So just a good sign for them, and as they keep winning, they're just one of the most impressive teams, if not the best team in the league right now. So for the Lions, just keep on moving, and they got a tough road ahead of them as the season comes to an end. And for the Colts, Richardson didn't look as good as he did last week, so I don't know if it's a concerning sign at this point. I don't know what to call it at this point, but overall for the Colts, just a great, or for the Lions, excuse me. The Lions, just a win that they usually always find a way to win mentality, and that's how they won this game for the Colts. Still a lot of questions to be answered with them. So moving on to the 4 o'clock slate games, we had the Broncos win again by the score of 29-19. Bo Nix played pretty well, had 2 touchdowns to Cortland Sutton, and they just were able to hold on for most of the game and get the win, and they moved to 7-5. Bo Nix has been very impressive this year, in my opinion. He's done exactly what he needed to do and exactly what Sean Payton has asked of him, and he's done it past the limit that a lot of people expected. So great sign for him. And just overall for the Raiders, this team's like a dumpster fire right now. They might not be, if not the worst, like second worst team in the league. Gardner Minshew just got ruled out for the rest of the season, and they're trotting out Aiden O'Connell against the Chiefs on Black Friday. So should be interesting to see how that game goes. But overall, for the Broncos, just keep impressing a lot of people. And for the Raiders, just the rebuild mode has been upon them ever since they really traded Devontae Adams. So moving on to the next game, not much scoring in this game, but Seattle was able to come out of was able to get a win against the Cardinals by the score of 16-6. A huge pick by Kobe Bryant on fourth down really changed this game and put it in the control of the Seahawks, and they were just able to chew the clock for most of the game and get a nice 10-point win. For the Cardinals, this up and down offense strategy just hasn't been working for them in all season, and this is exactly why they're 6-5. So still some things they definitely have to clean up if they want any chance of making the playoffs. But overall, for the Cardinals, just find a way to adjust to things because your defense is playing well. Your offense has just got to find its identity. And for the Seahawks, a win that they definitely needed. They wanted any chance of still winning the division. So moving on to the next game, this was just a bloodbath in my opinion, especially in the second half, as the Packers steamrolled the Niners to a 38-10 win. Josh Jacobs had 3 touchdowns on the day and tied for interception lead, and Xavier McKinney, their free agent addition, got another pick on the day on Brandon Allen, and it's Brandon Allen on the Niners. I don't know what people expected him to do, but the score represents what the Niners had at their disposal at this point. For the Niners, just a lot of questions they'll have in the offseason. Should be interesting to see if Kyle Shanahan is on the hot seat in any way. I think it's definitely a discussion to be talked about, but it should be interesting to see what happens. But for the Packers, keep them very much in the playoff hunt, even the Super Bowl hunt, in my opinion. Like, they could be one of the most dangerous teams getting into the playoffs. And for the Niners, one more loss might just end their season. So moving on to Sunday Night Football. This game was the Saquon Barkley game. He's not human. He's just an incredible running back. He had 302 total yards, I think 40 receiving, and then 255 yards rushing. He broke the Eagles record for most rushing yards all time that was previously held by Shady McCoy. He's just an incredible running back, an incredible signing, and in my opinion should easily be, if not easily should be in discussion for the MVP if people don't think he is. I think he should be at least top 3. He's up there with Josh Allen. He's up there with Lamar Jackson. The impact he's made to this offense is second to none. He has made this offense completely change over from last year. They barely had to pass the ball compared to last year, and their running attack might be, if not the second most, the most scariest rushing attack in the entire NFL. The way they're able to run it, their offensive line controls it so easily. And once Saquon finds those lanes, it's over for defenders trying to chase him. And that's exactly why he had over 255 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns of over 70-plus yards. And just talking about the game in general for the Rams, they looked like they had signs in the beginning. The Kyren Williams fumble on the first drive was a drive killer. But overall than that, the Eagles' defense just dominated them, had 4 or 5 sacks on the day. Losing Brandon Graham was definitely tough in my opinion. It should be interesting to see how they replace him, because I know he's not the impactful player he used to be, but he's still a great locker room leader, and it's tough to replace guys like that who can just go onto the field and instantly give you a boost every time he's out there. But they signed some guys that could get some snaps, so hopefully they can make their impact. They're not going to make a BG impact, but just having depth is key to keeping a defensive line that has been good the past couple weeks. And the secondary, it came out that touchdown that everyone thought Quinyon Mitchell did give up was actually not a touchdown he gave up. He wasn't technically in coverage. It was his own coverage, and I think they put it on Sidney Brown. But Mitchell's been great. DeJean played great in this game. Slay getting hurt at this point, I'm done with him. If he's not hurt, he's committing penalties, so not much to say about him. But just overall, this game as a whole, Eagles got a nice mix of offense and defense, and for the Rams, should be interesting to see if they can still try to make a playoff push now sitting at 5-6. So moving on to Monday Night Football, the Ravens got themselves a much-needed win, in my opinion, against the Chargers. It was the Harbaugh Bowl, and John came out with the win. Derrick Henry looked great, over 140 rushing yards, and Lamar Jackson made the plays that he needed to make to win this game, and that's exactly what they needed to do. And for the Chargers, Quentin Johnson had probably the worst game of his career, had 4 crucial drops, especially I think this third or fourth one. It was a 3rd and 2. If he catches that, he gets the first down and a whole lot more, but it's just going to show that they made a mistake drafting him over guys like Zay Flowers, who was on the other side of the field, and a guy like Jordan Addison, who had a huge day for Minnesota. So just the Chargers, they just keep growing. It's the first time they gave up more than 20 points. I know it's been back-to-back weeks, but their defense has been good. I think it could continue to be good, but for the offense, they got to find someone who can be that consistent guy. It looks like Ladd McConkey right now, but they need to find another guy that can also help the load. So moving on to my Week 13 picks of the week, the Thanksgiving slate, I got the Lions over the Bears. I think Caleb Williams is going to struggle with this defense, especially in Detroit, so I think the Lions will get the win. The Cowboys over the Giants. I'm not going to talk about this game. These are two teams that are not great, battling it out. I got the Packers over the Dolphins. I just think Tua it's gonna be tough for him to adjust to those conditions. He didn't do well against Kansas City last year, and I just don't think he plays well in the cold in general. Then I got the Chiefs over the Raiders on Black Friday. This game is not going to be good whatsoever. The Raiders can't produce anything on offense, and the match with the Chiefs' great defense, I don't think this game will be close. So, and then the Sunday slate, I got Texans over Jaguars, Patriots over Colts, Chargers over Falcons, Seahawks over Jets, Commanders over Titans, Steelers over Bengals, Vikings over Cardinals, Rams over Saints, the Buccaneers over the Panthers, the Eagles over the Ravens, the 49ers over, or the Bills over the 49ers, and the Broncos over the Browns. But other than that, that's going to wrap up today's episode. Just thought I would record this episode real quick because I've been busy the past 2 days, so that's why I wasn't able to record. But this is going to be the only episode for this week, by the way. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving, and I'll be back with you guys next week, probably on Monday or Tuesday. But other than that, enjoy the games tomorrow. Enjoy your Thanksgiving break. Have a good one.